Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. We are back on the dev server, and I thought we would have a look at a bunch of the weaponry changes that have come in for aircraft. And what I'm also not really going to do when it comes to these videos, I'm not going to really discuss flight model changes unless they're super big, because a lot of the time they get changed anyway when it comes to the live server. So in this video, we'll have a look at the weaponry. We'll also have a look at some countermeasure changes and other things, but we're probably not going to have a look at too much of the flight model stuff. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let's get started. The first change is to the Z-10ME. The Z-10ME is joining a lot of other helicopters at the highest echelon in getting a new missile. This is the CM502KG. It is a IR-guided missile with also IOG and GNSS. This means that if it loses its lock, it's still going to go towards the point where it last locked, so you got to be a bit careful with it. It has a huge TNT equivalent warhead on it, and also is SAP as well, so will be able to penetrate and overpressure a lot of targets. The Z-10ME is going to be able to carry 8 of these things, and they are fire and forget missiles since they are IR guided. And you can also bring along the TY-90s as well, which is pretty crazy. The other nation, which is also getting some fire and forget stuff, should not be surprising. It is good old Soviets. They're getting the fire and forget stuff on the Mi-28NM, and they're actually getting the LMUR missile. Now, these are big missiles compared to some of the other ones, and you can bring 8 of them. What you can also do is you can now, with the Mi-28NM, you can actually take Iglas on the inner pylons, not just the outer pylons now. So you can bring 16 of them if you want to. But I think most people would probably just take some of these and maybe Iglas, or maybe what you could do is you can mix and match. So what you do is you bring maybe some Iglas, you could bring these funny LMUR missiles, and then you can bring, of course, some good old Vikirs as well. So you can have this absolute Frankenstein set of missiles to be able to deal with stuff. So the LMUR is set up exactly the same as the Z-10MEs. They are once again IR-guided fire and forget missiles and pen quite a lot and have a ridiculous TNT equivalent of nearly 20 kilos. So these are going to overpressure like a motherfucker. Like they're just going to annihilate everything that's kind of coming in, and that is going to be very worrying. The Ah-64E also got some fire and forget stuff, but we had a chat about that in the other video. These get the AGM-179 JGM-MR IRs, which are pretty crazy at the same time. So another vehicle that has also been changed is one of the high-tier tornadoes. The MLU for the Italians actually gets a different modification for its countermeasures, something that's actually really nice to see. It's the MAW BOZ, which basically means a missile approach warning system. So you now, with all of the tornadoes kind of countermeasures, which it can get, which is either the 1200 chaff and the 56 flares and chaff, you can now bring along 200 flares or chaff and also attach a MAW system to it, which is really cool. It basically means that you are way more survivable than before. Another change that has also come in is for the SRAAM. The SRAAM is on a few vehicles in the game, and technically it could be on a few more. You have the Hunter GR1, Harrier GR1, and then you also have the Hunter F6, which is a vehicle that I recently spaded. So what they've done with this SRAAM is they've made it way better than it was before. Like an insanely amount better. Number one, what they've done is they've completely reworked its missile dynamics, which means that it flies a lot truer to what it should do. They've also massively increased its flight distance, meaning that it can be fired up to about 3 kilometers away, which is absolutely nuts. The autopilot has also been updated, so it doesn't just go woo and flap about the place. It actually goes in kind of a straight line, and at the same time, the oscillations at the same time have been reduced because of that autopilot change. So this missile is so much better than it was previously. And you can see here, we're aiming at nearly 2 kilometers away. Let's make it even longer so we can fire it away. You can also see they also changed the graphics around missiles. But that guy was 2.3k away, and I fired basically nowhere near him. and it just hit the target. These SRAMs are insane nowadays, and if you are a person who used them before and you need to get super close to the target for them to work, well, don't worry anymore. That isn't an issue for the SRAMs. So once again, 2 kilometers away, miles off the side, and look how nice and easy they go into the target. So this is a huge buff in terms of these things. And also, just to kind of show you, they do also keep... They still keep their funny, floaty silliness at the same time. So don't worry about that. You can do both. You can either do the funny, flingy, far away stuff, or you can do the close stuff as well. So a huge buff to the SRAM. By the way, the SRAM could technically go on a bunch of other machines, including the Phantoms. They're kind of like a... The way that the SRAM works is they're kind of like an internal system on themselves, so you could put them on any vehicle. So I hope with this, we'll see them on more stuff, which I think would be kind of fun. The KAB 500KR, the optics FOV has been changed. Basically, instead of being 2.9 degrees to -12, it's now 2.5. So that's just kind of a little change that they did with those. Also, they have changed some glide stuff and some other type of kind of missiles too. So this affects the Grom, which you'll find on a lot of high tier kind of vehicles for the Soviets. It also affects the KH-38 series of kind of missiles and the KAB-250LGs and the AASM-250s. So once again, a lot of these high-tier Soviet missiles slash glided bombs slash all of these things. The ability for a forced horizontal turn has been added, which allows for hitting aircraft targets from behind. So technically, with these things, you could actually hit stuff behind you, which is just nuts. The other thing they've also done with the KH-38 is the missile dynamics have been adjusted for it, so maximum launch range at low altitudes and average speed during flight have been reduced, but the maximum flight range has been increased to 70 kilometers. So basically, these missiles go further, they just go a little bit slower. So their launch range is now 70 kilometers. The lock range is still 20 kilometers for their IR and then the GNSS, which they added last update, giving them an even better kind of setup. Another bomb that has been added to a bunch of different vehicles. So the Kafir C-10, which is of course the Colombian one, they've added the Spice 1000. You can see it right here. This is also coming in the larger bomb is actually coming in on the F-15. But you can see the Spice 1000 is an IR guided big old bomb. So that's going to come in and just annihilate stuff. And then also the F-15 SRAAM, which exists. This one gets the 2000 Spice. So this will be quite nice to use as well, since the Spice seems to be being pushed out to a bunch of different vehicles. The Mirage 4000 gets more countermeasures, which is quite nice to see because, it's in a bit of a weird place. Basically, if you have a look at the Mirage, you have the ability to kind of add countermeasures, which you have to do. And it now has 336 of the standard chaff and then 112 of the flares and chaff, which just help it quite a lot. The other thing as well is the F-16A OCU for Thailand. Since they've added in the OCU to the Italians, to the French in the form of the F-16A OCU here, that also means that the Thai one has changed as well. So what they've added to this vehicle, which I think is kind of fun, is they've added some new bombs. So basically you get the Mark 84s, you get the Atlas pod with the paveways, you also get the AGM-65Ds as well, plus you have the AIM-120s, the Python 3s, the Ms, and also the Ls on top of it. So I think overall, this is quite nice. So the GBU-10 modification now requires research in the KGGB modification first. So that actually means that all of this is now connected. So that kind of sucks, but what are you going to do? At the end of the day, it is what it is. Talking about something which I think is actually also really cool is they have continued to expand the fuel dumping mechanic for the Soviets. They've actually added it for the Tu-14, but they've also added another torpedo to this thing. So basically you have a 450 millimeter torpedo, which is designed for high altitude torpedo dropping. So you can see here the arming distance of this is 50 meters, and then also altitude recommended for torpedo drop is 105. But in the future, it should at least have access to something which is a little bit further off the ground. At least that's what it says in the notes. So I don't know how 100 meters is high, but who knows. So what they've also added to this, which is really cool, is this. You can now dump fuel from the Tu-14, and it creates a hell of a cloud behind it. So I thought the F-111 was pretty nuts, but this one is just insane. So yeah, you have this massive cloud of fuel that's dumping, and it actually doesn't dump it at a crazy rate. It's actually a little bit less compared to before. Some other changes which are around the 20mm Type 99 Model 2 gun, the HEF and HEF-T, the explosion type has been changed to Pentalite, so we'll have to see how that affects it. There's also another vehicle which has been changed when it comes to its bombs. The Mirage 2000 DRMV has also been changed, which is one of the high strike aircraft for the French. This one has access to the SBU-64, the SBU-54, and 38 bombs now. So you can see here the hammers have actually been added to this. So it isn't just something that you can use on the Rafale now. You can also use it on this Mirage. And the hammers are obviously very, very good. If you've never used them before, you have the GNSS versions, you have the laser versions, and then you also have the IR versions, which is why people like using them, because of the fact that they have all of these different things. By the way, in this update as well, when it comes to ground forces and naval forces, they are adding in that mechanic where instead of it being based off the type of plane that you're bringing in, when it comes to spawn points, so your second spawn plane, it is now based on ordnance. So what this means is if you bring in, let's say, a fighter which has access to bombs, and you try and bring in a strike aircraft which also has access to bombs, it will now be more expensive to bring in that second strike aircraft after you've died in the fighter. So it's more linked now, the SP cost, to the secondary armaments instead of to the type of plane that you're bringing in, which is a huge change and also very positive. The F-104s have also been changed with their gun. This is actually quite a big buff or nerf, depending on how you use this thing. So the F-104A and the C, they have a reduced amount of ammo from 750 to 725. Not a huge amount, but the rate of fire has massively gone down. So the rate of fire used to be 6,000. It's now 4,000 on this vehicle, which is pretty nuts. The other thing as well is on the F2s, they've actually added more drop tanks, which also are coming in just in case you felt like you didn't have enough fuel on these vehicles. You can see that they have more drop tanks now on it. So that's always kind of nice to see. They also corrected where the HP-12 bomb is, but it's not a huge issue. They also added some more fun bombs to the Russians. For some reason, like there's a bunch of like additions to these. Like you can see the DER-21s. These are coming in. These are these bombs right here. And also, they've basically made it for the DB3A and the 3B. You can also add in some more stuff, such as the armor-piercing bombs. So they are slowly but surely, with a lot of these vehicles are low tier, just adding more AP bombs to them, and then also more random bombs that are coming in that I feel like we haven't looked at or seen in the past. Another thing as well to also mention is the B-57. Talked about this a bit earlier, but basically you now have chaff pods on this vehicle, so you can bring 384 chaff. Don't know why you would, but at least it's there. Another thing to also mention is the amount of 250-pound bombs that this thing can carry has been reduced. So before, it was actually way higher. You could bring 21, but now all you can do is bring 12, which is in the kind of bomb bay in the center. So that kind of sucks for it, but it's okay because this is what you actually take on this vehicle to be able to do stuff instead of all of these other things. The F-16C has new rockets. Basically, you have the APKWS-2, This is something that they've added to a lot of different vehicles over the time. The rockets, I don't know how useful they are, but as I said, they're basically all over the place now. These are the APKWSs, so you can see these ones are laser guided, and that means that you'll be able to fire them from a little bit further out, and they'll be able to find the target by themselves. The F-15E is also getting these, and also the A-10C's ones are getting adjusted. The FA-18C late is getting these, and the AV-8Bs as well on top of it. So there is just a bunch of different ones that are coming in. The TU-2s are also getting some new stuff, or at least one TU-2 is. Don't do this to me. It isn't. No. It's the one I can't show you. Oh, that sucks. So the TU-2, which is the... I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's the TU-2, which was the kind of like closed alpha test vehicle for War Thunder, the one that I don't have. The RS-132s and the RBS-132 rockets have been added to it. So if you have that vehicle, if you're in a very, very, very small percentage of people who actually has that, then you get to play it. All of these vehicles here, by the way, the SU-2s and the BB-1, they, at the same time, have got the RS-132s and the RS-82s too. So you can see them right here, just additional rockets on top of some of the bombs, which is pretty cool to see. And they actually restricted the Kernas. This actually, I ran into this issue as the dev server came up, but they've made it basically with the Kernas where if you have the AIM-9G kind of on the vehicle, you can't also at the same time bring the GBUs. So you are kind of more limited in the ordnance that you can carry by it. And then also the MiG-21S, they've nerfed it. So this is another historical nerf that has come in to the vehicle. The MiG-21S is, of course, the premium one that a lot of people use because of the R3R. So right now on the vehicle, the S-24 rockets have been removed from the outer pylons, and also the UB-32 pod has been removed from the inner hard points too. So pretty much you can only use 2 rockets instead of 4, and also are limited in other areas too. So for its major role, which is of course air-to-air, that isn't really too much of a problem. There's also a bunch of different bugs that were fixed, and also some updated models as well, such as the A-10 and the SU-25. If you want to see that in a video, I can go over that too, but once again, I kind of like waiting until like later on when those things are more fixed, because at the moment, everything's a bit all over the place. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.